In this video, I will be discussing various composers I enjoy. One would be John Williams. He's done some of the most iconic pieces of film score, like he's done the themes for Indiana Jones, E.T., Home Alone, the Star Wars movies, including the original trilogy, prequel trilogy, and sequel trilogy. He also did the score for Jaws, as well as Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, The Chamber of Secrets, and The Prisoner of Azkaban, the first free Harry Potter films. He also did score for War of the Worlds, as well as the movie War Horse, and for Superman. Specifically, he did the iconic and classic Superman theme from the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. Another composer that I enjoy is Alan Silvestri. He's done score for some iconic films as well, like Predator, Forrest Gump, Back to the Future. And then he's also done score for some of the Marvel Cinematic Universe films, like Captain America the First Avenger, The Avengers, Avengers Infinity War, and Endgame. He also did score for The Mummy Returns, a sequel to the 1999 Mummy film, the 2009 film adaptation of The Christmas Carol, Father of the Bride, Parent Trap, the live action Pinocchio film, Polar Express, Ready Player One, as well as the Night at the Museum movies. And then I also enjoyed Danny Elfman. He's done some of the iconic pieces of comic book film score, like he did the original Spider-Man theme in this that was played in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, as well as the theme from Batman 1989 directed by Tim Burton. Danny Elfman has actually done score for several other films directed by Tim Burton, like Nightmare Before Christmas, Edward Scissorhands, the 2010 film adaptation of Alice in Wonderland, as well as Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. He also did score for Terminator Salvation, Men in Black, Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse of Madness, the 2003 Hulk film, Oz the Great and Powerful, which is a prequel to The Wizard of Oz. And that's all the pieces of score that Danny Elfman has done. Another composer that I enjoy is Michael Giacchino. Most recently, he did score for the MCU special Werewolf by Night. He also did score for Thor Love and Thunder, as well as a couple of the Planet of the Apes films. He did score for War of the Planet of the Apes, as well as Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. He also has done score for the free MCU Spider Man films, Spider Man Homecoming, Spider Man Far From Home, and Spider Man No Way Home. He also has done score for several of the Pixar films, including Ratatouille, Up, the two Incredibles films, Coco, Inside Out, Lightyear, as well as Cars 2. He also did score for the first Doctor Strange film, as well as Rogue One, a Star Wars story. He also has done score for Zootopia, which is a Disney film, as well as Super 8. And then he also did score for the free Jurassic World movies. And I also enjoy Ludwig Göransson. Actually, going back to Michael Giacchino for a second, I forgot there. He also did score for The Batman, which just came out this year. I also enjoy Ludwig Göransson. Admittedly, he hasn't done as much score that I'm familiar with, but he's done score for a couple films or TV shows that I know. For example, he did the score for Tenet, directed by Christopher Nolan, which came out in 2020. He also has done score for Black Panther and will be doing score for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. He also did score for the Pixar film Turning Red, as well as Venom, which came out in 2018. Then he also did score for the live action Star Wars Disney Plus show The Mandalorian. I also enjoy Marco Beltrami. He did score for Knowing. He did score for a couple of the X-Men films like Logan, The Wolverine. And then he also did score for I, Robot, World War Z, The Giver, based on a book of the same name written by Lois Lowry, Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, as well as Soul Surfer. I also enjoy Jerry Goldsmith. Like Ludwig Göransson, he hasn't done as many pieces of score that I'm familiar with, but he's done score for some iconic films, though, since he's the one who did the score for the original 1968 Planet of the Apes film, as well as Escape from the Planet of the Apes. Then he also did score for Alien. He also did score for the 1999 Mummy film, as well as Air Force One. I also enjoyed John Powell. He did score for X Men The Last Stand, as well as Solo, a Star Wars story. Aside from that, he's done a good amount of score for animated films, like he's done score for Rio and Rio 2, as well as the How to Train Your Dragon films, the Ice Age films, the Kung Fu Panda films. Specifically, he's done score for the first two Kung Fu Panda films, as well as the first Shrek film. I also enjoy John Ottman. He did score for X Men 2, X Men United, as well as Superman Returns. And he's actually done score for a couple of other X Men films, like X Men Days of Future Past, as well as X Men Apocalypse. He also did score for the two early 2000s Fantastic Four films, as well as a few films starring Liam Neeson, like Nonstop and Unknown. I also enjoy Christophe Beck. He's done score for the two Frozen films, Free Guy, the two Ant-Man films that are in the MCU, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief, based on the book of the same name. And then he's also done score for Edge of Tomorrow. I also enjoy Harry Gregson Williams. He did the score for the free Chronicles of Narnia films based on the Chronicles of Narnia books. He also did score for the Shrek movies, as well as Prometheus, which is set in the Alien franchise, even though it's rather different from the other Alien films. He also did score for The Martian as well as Armageddon. They also enjoy Steve Jablonsky. He's done score for all of the Michael Bay Transformers films. He also did score for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, as well as Ender's Game and Skyscraper. And I also enjoy Hans Zimmer. He did a score for a couple of Christopher Nolan directed films like Dunkirk, Interstellar, and Inception. He also recently did score for Top Gun Maverick, as well as The Lion King, the animated version done by Disney. He also did score for the Dark Knight trilogy, the Kung Fu Panda trilogy, Man of Steel, Prince of Egypt, Amazing Spider Man, as well as the animated film Megamind. He also did score for Gladiator. And actually, I forgot for a minute there, Michael Giacchino also actually did score for Avengers Age of Ultron. And also, Hans Zimmer did score for The Amazing Spider Man 2. He did score for both Amazing Spider Man films. So, out of all of these composers, I would say that John Williams, Alan Silvestri, Dan- Danny Elfman, Hans Zimmer, as well as Michael Giacchino are the composers that I'm the most familiar with. Those are the ones I know the most score from. The others, not as much. As you can see, though, these are composers that have done score for several different fantasy franchises like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Star Wars, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Planet of the Apes, Alien, Transformers. But that will be it, however.